1 महीने में बाल वापस।
नहीं, मैं नहीं मानता।
गारंटी दोगे क्या?
All right, everyone. So, this is going to be our last session on this Tic-Tac-Toe app as a part of this Flutter Festival. And as per the previous two sessions, what you have seen is how the widgets are built, what are the known how basics of Flutter, and up and until the last session, we built the UI of the application. So, last session was led by Shashwat, and the first session was by Ansh, and this is going to be the third session and the last one for this workshop. So let's get started. Okay, I hope my screen is very much visible. So this is what we had as of last time. Um, so this is the button to change the color palette. Okay, and these are the name fields. So let's just start from the very beginning, like the outer face of the application, how it looks like and how it works like. So over here, if we have to enter the name, okay, so here this pops up. This bottom overflowed inset pops up, which it's basically an error that shows that there's not enough space for the widgets to build up. So basically, what's happening right now is whenever the keyboard pops up, it compresses the existing widgets. It compresses this screen. So the keyboard pops up, it's taking like, let's say 30% of the screen size, 30% of the context. So it's not dividing the screen into 66 to 33% ratio, something, whatever the height of the keyboard is. And within the remaining percentage, remaining size of the context, the widgets are being built, which is not sufficient for them to build because their size is static. So to overcome this, what we will do is let's go to the login screen of the application, the start screen. Okay, over here the scaffold widget has a parameter which is called resize to avoid bottom inset. It is by default set to be true. That means you are allowing the context to resize, but you don't have to resize it, you have to set it to false. Because when we set it to false, what it does is, let me just restart the application. You will now see the error is gone, it's not there, because the keyboard that you see over here, it's overlapping the screen. It's not now it's not sharing the space, rather it is overlapping the screen. The screen size remains as it is, but it's overlapping the existing context. So let me just go and have a look at the comments or any doubts that you guys might have. Okay, so I think we're good to continue. Right, so as I was saying, this overlaps this context, and thus there's no need to resize this whole screen, which thus avoiding the error that you see, the compression error that you saw over here. So you just had to add this one field resize to white bottom inset to be false, which is by default set to be true by the IDE, by the framework. Now after we're done with this, let's go ahead. I'm gonna just put my name there and surname in the second field. Okay, so now this again, this overflowing error is, it's basically because Shashwat built this application on a different emulator which had a different resolution than mine. The resolution might have been bigger than what I have over here. So let's say I'm going to resize it, and what else do we have to do here? These icons, I'm thinking of maybe changing them a bit. Not sure, but let's see. First, I'm going to fix this up. This one, this overflowing grid. Let's solve this issue. Okay, so grid is in the grid screen dot dart, and it's over here, I think. Yeah. Okay, so all the sizes, all the dimensions, whatever were used in the previous session, they were static. So just to for your better understanding, they were put as static in the beginning. But now that you know how the dimensions work and how they are put up, we can make it dynamic now. Okay, now to make it dynamic, let me just open up Paint. So there is something called media query. Media query. So as the name suggests, media query, it queries the context of the media. It queries the context of the device. This one. So media query is a function that you can use to get the attributes of the screen and some attributes of the device as well. So we'll be using media query to get the height of the screen of device, height in pixels that is. We'll be using it to get the height of the device, the height of the resolution, lateral resolution, and the width of the screen, width of the context. Those two are the things that we need. And with respect to that, we will resize each and every object that we see over here. That will be in relation to the screen size. So that will become dynamic. If the screen size is smaller, it will adapt to smaller screens. If the screen size is larger than this, it will adapt to the large screen, because that container size and dimension is not static. It changes as the screen size changes. So let's say, okay, where should I start from? Mm, okay, this is the container height and width. So I'm going to make it media query dot. Now media query of what should I query? I need to query the context. Context is whatever you see here on the screen. This, I need to query this context. I'm asking this context to give me the size. Now I have to specify, like, by size, what do I need? I need the height of the device. So now that I've specified media query dot of context size height, this will assign the height of the context to this height parameter of container. Okay, now since we want to dynamically resize the container, so let's just see how much what size should be assigned to the container, to each and every grid that we see on the screen. So if this is okay, so we have to see what part of 100 or what part of 10 should we assign to the grid as the height. For example, can I say that this grid is like almost 10% or 15% of the screen size, the screen length, height? Let's say if I just put into 0.15. Okay, now since it's a cell, it's a grid, and it's a square grid, I need to put the same in the width as well. If I replace height with width over here, it's not going to be a square, because height and width are different over here. So the 15% of both of them will be different naturally. So I'll have to replace it with height itself. So this is like a hit and trial method that I use to check which design size suits me. I'm going to run it. Okay, it's still showing overflowed. So that means we have to change other widgets as well. Let's say I'm going to remove this padding now. I'm going to go to this padding keyword and hit Alt plus Enter, which will give me options to choose from, and I will go with remove this widget. It will remove the widget from over here. Sized box. Okay, I'm just going to remove it for now. Okay, I'm just going to comment it for now. If I need it again, I will uncomment it. Now to comment multiple lines, I'm going to hit Control plus Shift and the forward slash, which forward slash and question mark on the same key. So you got to hit Control Shift and forward slash to comment multiple lines on it. Okay, let's just keep on seeing the changes. Okay, okay, so I think the problem that was there was with the padding. The padding was causing issue in our device. So we need to give it some padding, I mean, from all the sides, because it's like almost sticking out from the device, or it's sticking to the edges, which is not looking good. But before that, let me just try to resize it, even make it a bit smaller. I'm just going to assign 10% of the height. Okay, and let's say I'm going to maybe remove this padding. Let's see what happens. Okay, we need to keep this padding back. Now for the whole container, if I go, this is the scaffold widget and the center. I'm going to provide this whole container, the whole context, a padding, because I want the padding to be from all the sides. That's why I'm encapsulating the complete screen, the complete context into a padding widget. Now by default it's set to 8. Okay, that looks good enough. Now what I'm thinking is these two buttons should be moved downwards because this area looks kind of empty. Okay, so I'm just going to push these buttons down. So I can see this is the column widget, this one, right? Column, this column widget has three nested widgets. First is the row widget, which has both of these buttons. This is the row widget encapsulating both of these buttons. Second one is a padding widget. Padding has row, and row again has both these texts. So this is the second widget, row widget. And third one is this grid. Three widgets I have. So I just need to switch the places. I just need to send this one to the bottom. So what I will do is I can either cut paste it, or what I can do is go to row and hit alt plus enter and move widget down. It will move it now by one step down. So now after I refresh it, what you will see is the name goes on top, these buttons come at between, and the grid stays where it is. Okay, now I need to further push it down below the grid, so I'll again hit alt plus enter and move widget down. Okay, so now the widget is over here. This looks better. We need to separate them a bit. These buttons are way too close. And also, okay, so the button should be interpretable. Like when you look at the buttons without even using them, you should know what these buttons might be for. So I'm guessing the yellow one should be for restarting or resetting the application, and the blue one should be for undo, like undoing the last move. So instead of, okay, I'm just going to switch these buttons. I'm going to switch the places of these buttons, take one to the left or to the right. So I'm going to do the same over here. Just gesture detector and alt plus enter and move widget down. It is going to move it down the tree. So now when I reset it, hot restart it, these buttons will have changed the places. Okay, now in place of close, I need to put an undo button. And main axis alignment, I'm going to say, let's say it's spaced evenly, because I want them to be spaced evenly. Right, now this looks much better. Okay, so player name, player A name, player B name. I think this must be the score. Like after game is over, whoever wins gets a point added in front of the name. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to do player A. I'm just going to move it like this. Okay, this must be the score. Now coming on to the main functionality that we are supposed to add. Let me just take a look at the chat. Okay, I think we're good to. Now I need to make these grids pressable. I need to adjust the detected them, and let's complete this app right now. So, okay, let's start off with the grid. Like there are a lot of things that are supposed to be done. So I was just thinking, what should we give the first priority to? But let's just from the broader perspective, we see first what we need to do is the major task that we have is to build the logic. So let's start off with building the logic. So here we have this one container. We are going to enclose it inside a gesture detector, which you might have been taught in the previous sessions. It uh, it captures the captures the or detects the tap or any action taken on it. It's kind of a listener that is attached to this particular widget, to this container. So I'm going to attach a listener to this container so that any action that happens to the container, that will be uh, the widget listens to the action and then can perform certain actions as you suggested. So after container, I'm going to hit Alt plus Enter, wrap with widget, and it's going to be a gesture detector for me. Now I'm going to add on tap parameter. So gesture detector, like I said, it captures the movement, captures the action, listens to the event. For example, event is a tap, or if you double tap any cell, if I tap this cell, this is an event. If I drag it upwards, drag it downwards, to left or right, this this all are categorized as events. I double tap it, I can press and hold it for a while. This also is an event. But for now, we need on tap event, that is on single tap. What should happen when I press it once? When I tap on each button once, what would happen? For that, I'm going to enclose it with, I've enclosed it with gesture detector, and on the on tap property, just to see if everything works, I'm just going to print the index of the grid. Okay, it now, since it's a print statement, it will print in the terminal over here. It should know, yeah, it should print over here in the run terminal. Okay, so this will give us the index of each and every cell. So if I tap on this one, this should be the 0th cell. Okay, now, okay, this is something that I wanted to uh, tell you, that this is a 3 by 3 grid which has been laid out by, which has been rendered by this grid view builder. Now, for this, we need to understand in what fashion are these cells laid out, like which cell was created first and which was then created afterwards, which was the third cell that was created. So what I need to understand, was this grid created in this fashion, like 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, or was this created 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, or was there any other way in which the pointer, the iterator must have proceeded in order to create this grid? For that, there's a very simple thing that I can do, which is I'm going to enclose a text widget inside all of these containers. Okay, so let's say if I just press A, so it shows A at the top left corner of each of the cells, as you can see. Let's make it a bit more visible. I'm going to give it alignment property, alignment dot center, and the text, I'm going to give it some text attribute. Let's say I'm going to give it some colors dot white, so that it's visible with a dark background. So now you can see it's right in the middle of each of the cell. Now, to understand the the fashion in which the cells might have been created, I'm just going to print index over here. So now it's giving me error. Why? Because index is a integer type. Okay, that's an integer type, and the text widget, it requires a string data type. So I can either interpolate it within the string, like I can either put it in commas, and then add dollar. So this is string interpolation. This is how string interpolation is done in Dart. And you can also enclose it with curly braces. Okay. And the other thing, other way around is just write index and cast it to string. It will just cast the index directly to the string data type. So now you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which means the box were laid out in this fashion, in this horizontal fashion, left to right. So this was the first cell that was created, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth cell. So, these indices are needed to uh, build the logic for winning and for the draw, all these logics. So these are needed for that purpose. That's why this is a vital role. This plays a vital role over here to understand how these boxes were laid out. So over here, like it, we used a print statement to see to get the index of each and every cell. So if I print, if I tap 4 over here, it definitely produces 4, not because it has the text 4, but because it is at the index 4. Over here, that gives 8. So okay, now we're good with this. So now let's okay, what should we do now? Okay, let's create a list of string. Okay, an empty list of string. I'm going to go at the top, let's say over here. I'll be creating a list of string. I'm going to name it, let's say, checklist. mm, I guess so. Let's call it checklist for now, and let's initialize it with, I'm going to put late var into this, or not late var, let's just do it without late var. I'm going to create 9 empty instances of the cell 3 3 3. I think, yeah, it's 9, right? Yeah, I think so. So now what I'm going to do is, for every box, for every cell that is tapped, I want to replace this empty grid, this empty block of array with a character. That is, on tap, what you need to do is you need to set state, because it requires the change of state for you to see the changes. Checklist at this index, checklist at this particular index changes to, let's say, x. Okay, and over here, now this will change the checklist. Over here, you just see the checklist is going to change to x, but it's not going to display over here. It's not going to display. Why? Because you already have the indices displayed, so you need to change it. Just remove the indices, and I'm going to display the checklist at that particular index at which the cell is built on. So if I refresh it, it's gone for now, but if I tap on anyone, you can see the x popping up. Okay, I can tap on anyone and choose the x popping up from the grid. Similarly, I can do for 0, which we are supposed to do in a while. Okay, it's working. So what would be our next step? Okay, I think our next step would be to alter between zeros and cross, because there needs to be alternate moves to it, right? When you tap on one cell, it should show cross, and the moment you tap on other cell, it should switch to 0. That's how the tic-tac-toe works, in all that. So okay, let's do it in this fashion. I'm going to create another variable, a boolean variable rather. Bool is x. It's going to be true by default. So is x, we are asking, is it x? It's true for now, but we will keep on changing it. Now getting back here, Now we're going to put a condition that if checklist at that index, if it's empty, then only you have to do it. Because if there is already X over here and I tap it again, then it should not change to 0. It should do nothing. It should only change the boxes which are empty. It should only change it to 0 or cross if the box or the cell is empty. So that's the condition that I have to put over here. If the checklist at that index, at the array, the block at that index is empty, then only you have to change it to X. Okay, now we have used that bool variable. Now we will check if is X. If it is true, then you put X in that block, else checklist at that index is changed to at that index is changed to 0. It shows this yellow squiggly line because it's a warning. I mean, it's kind of a warning. It's asking us to wrap these statements in curly braces in blocks. So if the cell is empty and the boolean variable is true, then it will change the box to X. Else it will, if the boolean variable is false, it will change the box to 0. Now after every operation that we do, we have to change the boolean variable. We have to revert the boolean variable, because right now it's X, and in the next move you would want to see 0 over here in place of X. So this if loop ends over here, and this ends over here. Now I'm going to assign this variable the inverted value of itself, is X. What it does is, right now it's true, okay, so X, or I can just revert it like this. This is better. So this is X, this is true, or X is X, the boolean variable, and it is being assigned the value of its negation. So if it is true right now, so is X will be assigned the negation of true, which is false. Now when it will be false over here, it will be assigned the negation of false, which is true. So basically we're inverting the variables. Okay, we're inverting the variables. Okay, we also have to clear this grid. We'll be using this reset button quite a few times. So let's just work around with this as well at the same time. So reset button is over here, reset alt on tab. So what we need to do on tapping the reset button, the cells, all the cells should be initialized to blank. All the zeros and crosses should be removed. So for that, what I'm going to do, this checklist that we have over here, I'm just going to copy it from over here. And checklist, I'm going to set state, because I'm asking you to rebuild the state, and set the checklist to blank. So when you press the button, it should change all the list to blank, all the list checklist to blank. And also is X, it should be changed back to true as it was in the very beginning. Okay, so if I hit the reset button, it clears all the X's. And now let's just see how it works. I'm just going to press the very first cell, it gives X. Now other cell, if I press anywhere, it should give me 0. It works. Now now if I press it, if I click any cell, it should give me X again. Okay, now it's working. Okay, as you can see, it's working. But now what we have done is just to build the logic. Currently we have only displayed the contents of the cell, but now the logic is not complete, right? Because you can see that there are 3 zeros in one row, 3 X's in one row. But how would you declare a win? You have to you have to code it in such a way that it declares a winner rather than you declaring it yourself. You don't have to see who won. It should speak out to you that this person or this player has won the game, and then restarts the game after a while automatically. So for that, but first before, and these symbols are way too small. These are too tiny. So let me just make them a bit bigger. Color white, and let's say font size is going to be 30. That's much better. You can even change x to the multiplication sign, which looks far better. Let me just try to change it. um okay, that's going to be the multiplication. So that's going to copy it from over here and paste in place of x. Now we'll restart, or not restart, but reset the app. Now it shows x and zeros, which looks better in my opinion. Let me just go again and have a look at the chat. Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, now as to build the logic. So let me go to the paint once again. I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. So okay, it will be better if I just replace these with indices for now. I'm just going to cut it and index.toString, run it, and now take a screenshot. Okay, better. Now I'm going to revert back the changes. Cool. So these are the indices over here. Now we need to build a logic that whenever 0, 1 and 2, all these are same, then it should declare a winner. If this second row is same, it should declare a winner. So there will be 8 instances when a winner will be declared. So if I just pick a pencil over here, so this would be a winner. If these are same, it will be a winner. This will also be a winner. This will be a winner. And this one. These are the 6 instances, and then the remaining 2 diagonals. So if we have same values across all these 8 instances, or any one of these 8 instances, then the winner, the player will be declared as a winner. So if we just have a look at these indices, here we need 0, 1 and 2. Okay, so similarly here we need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Over the first column we need 0, 3, 6 and 1, 4, 7 and 2, 5, 8. And for these diagonals, for this diagonal we need 0, 4 and 8, and for this diagonal we need 2, 4 and 6. Okay, so I'm going to create a separate function which is check win. I'm just going to name it check win, which will be executed after every move of both the players, and will ensure whether the game has ended or not. So first we need to think of what parameters will it require. um okay, I don't think it will require any parameter. We just need to build up if and else blocks over here, which will which will in turn check if the condition is true or not. If true, then those blocks will be executed, and one of the players will be declared as a winner. So let's say I'm going to say if checklist, I can use element at property. Okay, that's also there, or I can just simply use the square brackets to access the element at any given index. The element at is the same as that. You just have to specify the index over here, but let's just stick with what we started. So first I'm going to do it on the I'm going to build the logic for the rows. So the first row, second row, and third row. So if this checklist at 0 is equal to this at 1, and checklist at 1 is equal to checklist at 2. Unfortunately, we cannot put equal to across all the three at once. The comparator operator works for only two variables at a time. So you can compare only two variables at a time. If there are multiple variables, you have to break it, using AND or operator. So I'm also thinking, like, to shorten this, what we can do is we can build a separate function which takes in all the three parameters at once, and then it gives out the result in true or false, whether those parameters are equal or not. That can also be done. That's also an alternative. But this is a straightforward way. That this is an indirect way. This is a direct way, and that will be an indirect way, but that will keep your code much cleaner. Here you might find it a bit messy. So let's say if we just go with this, we are checking if the element or the number or the element at 0, not number, we don't have numbers, we have characters only, cross and 0. So if the element at 0th index is same as 1, and if the element at 1 is same as 2, and there's one more important condition, that any one of them, let's say checklist at 0, should not be blank, because in one sense all these are equal. I mean, if we do not put this blank condition, then it will, as soon as you start the game, it will declare any one of the player as winner. That will be a bug, because technically these all boxes, these all hold the same value, which is empty, which is null value. These all hold the same value over here. So we need to just rule out that instance by adding a not equal to operator. If any one of them, any one of 0, 1, 2, any one of 0, 1, and 2 is not null, okay, and all those three are equal, then what should we do? So I remember in a previous session, they created the snack bar. Okay, I'm just going to call the snack bar over here. Now it also depends, like the elements are equal in the cell, okay, but what is that element? Is that x that is equal across all the cells, or is that 0 which is same across all the cells? So for that we have to again nest an if else block inside it. So let's say if checklist at any one of these elements, because all of these are same, that's when this if block will execute. So if this element is x, if this is x, then I would say get snack bar, and let's say player A had the cross, so I'm going to say player A 1. Again, it's a squiggly line which says to enclose it inside curly braces. Else. Now for else, I'm going to put else if, let's say, else if this is 0, to copy this one, player B in the game. Now this is for only when the first row has all the same elements. Okay, so let's just check it. I'm going to call the check-win function after every move. On state, on tap, this on state ends over here. Check-win comes here. Reset this application. Not application, reset this grid. So here we have x, 0 and x. So different elements, so we did not get a snack bar. Now we have x, I'm going to put 0 over here, x again, 0 over here, and x again, which says player A1. Okay, and if there are 3 consecutive zeros, then it should say that player B won the game. And player B won. Okay, now we have done this only for the first row. We have to do the same for the remaining 2 rows, the 3 columns and 2 diagonals. So we have to just repeat the code. So if you are, it's going to get a bit messy over here. So that's if you understood the logic over here, then it will be better for you, because it's going to be a repetitive code. It will be like a redundant code, you can say. The values are repeating, but there are very minor changes that you see. So here's the if block. I'll go on to the else block. Else if this is the condition. Now for this one, this is for the second row, and remember what the indices for the second row were: 3, 4 and 5. It's going to be 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, and it's going to be any one of them, and same is going to be any one of them. Let's say I'm just going to set it to the first of the row. 3, 4 and 5. Okay, this starts from over here. Else if next one 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8, changing it to any one of them. Let's say 6. Okay, so now we have completed the logic for all the 3 rows. Now we have to complete the logic for the 3 columns. So else, I'm going to paste it again. Now this time the indices are going to be 0, 3 and 6. 0, 3, 3 and 6. Just check if these both pairs are equal or not, and ensure that the first cell of these 3 is not null. Changing them to 3 again, or you could have changed them to 0 as well. Okay, but I'm just picking up any number at random: 0, 3, 6, 3 and 3. Okay, on to the second column: 1, 4, 7. 1, 4. We're checking if 1 and 4 are equal, and if 4 and 7 are equal. So naturally, if 1 and 4 are equal and 4 and 7 are equal, so 1 and 7 will be equal. 1 over here, any random number over here, a random number out of these 3. Last one is 2, 5 and 8. 2, 5, 5, 8. Okay, 2, 5, 8, 2. Okay, so now we are done with all the columns, all the rows. Now we're just left with the diagonals, the 2 diagonals: 048 and 246. Else if 0 4 8 0 4 8 0 0 is there, okay, and 246 the last diagonal. 2 4 4 and 6. Okay, so now this should work for any given combination. Let's say we're going to plant x along this diagonal. There's going to be x over here, this again x, and this x which is 1. That's nice. But okay, just as to uh, for the sake of better design and better appeal, what I'm thinking is we can color the grids, like whichever grids are striked out, whichever is the winning grid or winning combination, that should have a different color for a few seconds before the game resets on its own, so as to know, so as to visualize which was the winning move, or which was the last winning combination. So, okay, so for that we have to make the color dynamic. Right now, as you can see, the grid color is gray, shade is 700, which is static. So I'm just going to cut it for now. Let's say if I give it colors dot red and red accent shade, let's give it a shade of 100. That looks good enough. That's not too bright and not too vibrant also, so that's great. Okay, I'm just going to comment it and replace the original color. Okay, we're back with the original grid. Let me just grab this color. Now I'm going to create a color variable. Color, grid color. We need a color list, okay, because just like each and every cell can have a different value, each and every cell can have a different color as well. So for that we'll have to create a list of colors. So I'm going to create list. You can choose to mention the data type, you can choose to omit, but I always do it. It's considered a good practice to always mention explicitly mention the data type of the list of the variable that you're using. So I'm going to name it color list, and we're going to have colors dot gray and shade of 700, which is default color. Okay, that's the error. I'm going to change it to this one because it's nullable. Question mark means it can be null. If you do the colors, these parameters, this attribute by default in the framework is nullable. That means it does not necessarily have to have a value, it can be null as well. So to avoid any exceptions during the runtime of the application, it ensures that you have already assigned this color to a nullable data type, which is nullable is described with a question mark. If it's a nullable string, it's going to be a string question mark. For integer, it's going to be integer question mark, which says that it's not certain that this variable will have a value. It can be null as well. So now I have to repeat this entry for 9 times because there are 9 cells. So Control C, Control V, Control V. These are the first 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so color list is there. Now we will assign the list colors over here. We'll assign it the color from the list now. The color at the given index should be assigned to this list. Just like the checklist, just like the contents of the cell, we are assigning in the similar fashion, we are assigning it the color, okay, from the list. So now we can change the color of uh, individual boxes. So for example, if I just change the first one to color dot red accent shade of 100, then this first cell should change the color to red when I press on state, of course. Or I need to, okay, there's one thing that I can also do is create an init state button. Okay, but let's say I'm going to restart this application by control this. It's going to take me back to the login page, the start page again, whatever name it is. I just misspelled my own name, doesn't matter. So now you see this is colored. Okay, but let's just change it back to normal, change it back to what it was in the beginning. Okay, so now I'm going to create an init state. Init state, let me just explain. So init state, uh, it's basically the function that fires the moment the screen is opened up. When the screen opens, the init state is I think the first function that launches. It initializes all the variables to the values that you have assigned to it. So if I say my color list is over here, like copy it from, let's just cut it from over here. I'm going to make it a null list, and I'm going to initialize the color list. So the variable color list, it's null by default, but whenever this screen opens up, when you the moment you log in into this, or you not log in but enter the names of the players, and the moment this screen pops up, it will initialize the grids with these colors. So I'm going to change it back to gray, colors dot gray and shade of 700. Now right now it won't show any change because this whole context needs to rebuild in order for this init state to fire. That's why I said the moment this screen opens up means the moment all these widgets rebuild. When will these widgets rebuild? When you open this page again. So I'll go back and press start again. So now the widgets have rebuilt and they have went back to the native state. Okay, so now I'm going to the win function. Now this is one step extra. You can choose to do this, you can choose not to do this, but just for the look and feel I'm doing it. I'm sure it would look better. Okay, so for now I'm going to change the color. I'm going to set state because I need these particular boxes to rebuild at the very instant. That's why I'm using set state for now. So color list at, I need 0, 1 and 2. So let's see if I can assign them like this. Equals colors dot red accent shade is 100. Okay, I'm not sure if this works, but let's just see if we can assign all of them all together. Okay, so 1, 2. Yes, it works. That's great. That will shorten our code a bit. Otherwise, you would have to individually assign all these values to these variables. So that's a great thing. We just need to copy this set state now and send it across all of them. Okay, we make 0. This ends over here. Let's just bring it down after the else if else blocks. Because otherwise we would have to then repeat it twice the number of times. Okay, it works, that's great. So we'll just copy the set state and send it across all of them after the if else blocks. Oh yeah, I have to change the indices as well. So 3, 4 and 5. After if else, it's going to be 6, 7 and 8. How I'm doing it right? 6, 7, 8, 0, 3 and 6. Okay, 0, 3, 6 is supposed to be here. 0, 3 and 6. 1, 4 and 7. And 2, 5 and 8. And last one, wait, I two, okay, not last one, two diagonals are left. It's going to be 0, 4 and 8. 0, 4, 8 and 2, 4 and 6. 2. Okay. So now if I press the reset button, it should also change the change back or reset the colors of these grids. So for that I'm going to again go to the init state. This one. Copy the contents. And the reset button is over here. So if I press it, it should change the colors back to the normal. So if in any fashion, if any player wins the game, it should color that particular combination. Okay. Now this combination should disappear after, let's say, a couple of seconds, and also the grids should be automatically reset. That's what we want. That's I think that adds a better functionality rather than manually resetting them all. So let's try to do that. I'm going to I'll go to this check win function. I'm going to call the reset function everywhere. In this after I've colored this, I'm going to call the reset function. Okay, reset function has to be, let me just see. Yeah, I have to create a reset function now. So that was the reset button. So I'll create a reset function over here. So I'll just copy the contents of this reset function, this reset button, which is currently a reset button, but I'll convert it into a function. Let's just say it's going to be reset. The function does not exist as of now, that's why it's giving the red line. But let's create a function over here. And copy the contents. Errors are gone because this is the reset function that we have. Now one important thing, let's remove it from here. Let's take it from the very top, that is 0, 1 and 2. After this set state, I'm going to call the reset function. Now there is no time difference, there is no lag between these two functions. So the moment the color is changed, in the very next second it's going to reset it. So it's like you won't be able to even see the color, or it won't stay there for long. Let me just show you. I've put the reset function in the first row of the grid. Okay, so ideally if I just win with this combination, if I press over here, it should show crosses across all the 3 cells, and it should change the color to red for this combination. and it should ideally stay there for a couple of seconds before automatically resetting. But the moment I press it, it all changes back to the default because there is no time lag between this. So we need to add a lag. Okay, so to add a lag, I'm going to what I can do. Okay, so there is a function called future dot delayed. Now it needs a duration type object. So duration and time, say 3 seconds should be enough. And after that 3 seconds, it should execute this function. So this future delayed function takes in two parameters. First parameter is the duration, that is by how much seconds, milliseconds or minutes do you want to delay something. And the second parameter is a function that after the delay timer is over, then what should happen next? What should be the what should be followed by the delay? So I'm saying that delay the execution by 3 seconds, and after the execution, then I'm in the second parameter of this delay function, I'm putting in reset. After 3 seconds, execute reset function. Now I'm going to again hot reload the application, and now this time for tab here, it should stay red for 3 seconds before going back to the original state. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's what we need. So I'm just going to copy this function and paste it across all the grids after the set state. As you can see, this has become repetitive. That's why in the beginning I said we can make a function which encapsulates all of them, but this version is more easier to understand for you. Once you are through with this, once you're comfortable with this version, you can then go on to experiment and try to create a function on your own. So functions keep your code modular and cleaner, reproducible. I think, yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 instances. Yes, that's great. So if I win in any combination, let's say this time I'm going to win through this zeros in the middle column. Okay, it changes to red, and after a couple of seconds it changes back to its original state. But that's how you build the main logic of this application. Now as far as this player A, player B, 0 is concerned, so these are the points like how many matches has each of the player won. So for that, what we can just do is create two variables, create two counter variables. Okay, let's say int player A, it's going to be 0, int player B, it's going to be initialized to 0. Also I'm just going to, okay, let's not initialize it over here, we're going to initialize it inside the init state, which is a better way to do it. So when you're not initializing a variable, you need to add a late modifier which says that these variables will be initialized later on, otherwise it will throw an error. So after adding the late modifier, I'm going to go to this in state, and over here I'm going to initialize them and play B as 0 again. Now string interpolation again, player A and player B. Okay, do I see some error? Okay, it has not been initialized, so I have to reset this application. Hot restart. So whenever player A wins, we need to increment the counter of player 1 or player A, and if B wins, we need to increment the counter of B. So again, we have to repetitively change it across all the 8 instances. So player A plus plus incremented by 1, player B plus plus, that is incremented by 2. Let me just do one thing. Player B player A has won the game. To comment it out, player B has won the game. We'll comment this one out. Player A has won. Just choose to delete it rather than commenting it. Player B has won the game. We delete the instance of A. And player A has won, and player B has won. Back to player A. Now both of the diagonals are remaining, I think. Okay. Let's also do one thing. Let's enclose all of that in set state. Otherwise, we'll have to do it over and over. Set state. Okay. So this whole function, if else block, this ends over here. This is then this is the first instance. 2, 4, and 6. Let's see if I cut it and put it inside a set state. So if player A wins the game, we should change it to 1. Reset, automatically reset. This time if player B wins the game, we should change this to 1. Right? Again, let's say if player A wins the game, changes it to 2. Now there's one thing that's remaining, that's the instance to identify or to determine if the game has drawn. If it's a draw, then what should we do? So for that, we need to create a variable which counts the number of grids that have been filled. So which are like non-empty, the grids. Let's create a counter over here. Late int fill counter, maybe grid fill counter, anything. I'm going to initialize it inside the init state. Okay, this function is too long. I'm just going to collapse this for now. Like I can just open it again from here, but now that I don't need to use it, I'm just going to collapse it so that I can switch or scroll through the functions in a faster way. So this is a reset function, and this is the init state. Fill counter becomes 0. Okay, now we need to increment the fill counter. Like whenever a grid is filled with either 0 or cross, we need to increment the counter. The counter will keep a check of the grids that are empty and the grids that are filled. after this is done, we have to fill counter plus plus. That's where we're adding it. It's in set state. Okay. Just to check if everything is working fine, I'm going to print the fill counter. So right now, if I tap on anyone, it will show me 1. It does not, because now there's an error. Not been initialized. Okay, let's hot restart this application rather. Okay, now it shows 1. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on will go till 9th. Okay, 7 grids were filled, so it became 7. Now the game has restarted and the grids are all empty again. So if I tap on any of the grid, it should show me 1, right? But it shows me 8 because we did not reset this fill counter. So we need to go to the reset function. The reset function is over here and will also reset the counter to 0. So now if I click on reset, the counter gets reset to 0. And after every win, the counter will again get reset to 0. Now why we need this counter? We need this counter to determine if the game has drawn or not. If the game is a draw. So let's think of a logic. How can we infer if the game is draw? How should the how should the program, how should the application know if the game is draw? Okay, let's create a boolean value, a boolean variable, which will change to true if the game is over after either of the player has won the game, and the boolean will change to false if all of the grids are filled and none of the player has won the game. Okay, let's create a boolean variable. Bool has won, it will be false by default. Let's see if we can do something over here without using the boolean variable. Okay, let's try this. 2, 4, 6 is last idling. Else get snack bar. Will this work? Else if the fill counter, we need to give it a condition that if the fill counter is 9, if it is 9 and none of the above conditions have met, then we will say that the game is draw. Let's try if it works. So I'm trying to play a draw over here. And here goes 0. Now there will be X, so I have to play X over here and 0 here. Okay, now if I play X, then this will be a win to reset. Okay, now here comes 0. There'll be X, X goes over here, 0 comes here, X goes here, 0 comes here, and X goes here. it's a tie, and after a while it will reset. So that's how we created the draw, uh, the function to check if it's a draw. That means we need not create a variable of false. The need not create a variable for checking if the game is over or not. We need not create a separate variable for that. That's enough for it now. Okay, now that we have asked for the name of the place at the beginning, we ought to display them over here, right? Because if not that, then what's the need of asking the place for the names if we're not using it? So in place of player A and player B, I need to show the name of the players from the previous screen. I need to get the data from the previous screen and show it over here. So this is the grid screen, this is the constructor which is called on the previous screen. Let's say if you go to the start screen, you can see this one, material page root builder, and context, it takes it to grid screen. So I'm going to create two strings like PA, let's say player A, and string PB is the player B. This will be the required parameter, required this dot PA and required this dot PB. So I'm saying that, okay, there's some error. Let me just check. Oh yeah, it's not constant anymore. First of all, it's variable because now it has variable, so it wasn't constant. So I'm saying that required this dot p. That means this whenever this function, this grid screen, this stateful widget is called, then these two are the required parameters, necessary parameters to call this function. So now that you can see there's a squiggly line in the red screen dot dot, that is this over here, because the parameters have not been passed. Now it's asking you to provide those two names of the players or these two string data types. So I specified that whenever this widget is called, asked for these two parameters for PA and PB. Ask the user to pass these parameters. So player A name and player B name are the variables that we need. So PA is player A name and PB is player B name. Okay, so it says it's a nullable string. Let me just go to the definition. Okay, I have to keep it non-nullable. That means I have to go over here and then make it non-nullable. Now there it is gone. I'm going to restart this application after I feed these variables in the next page. So I'm passing this player A name and player B name with the grid screen. It's taking PA and PB over here, and now I can access the data from the previous screen onto this screen. So I'm going to replace the player B. Okay, so what I should have done is player A, player B. Okay, this is another way to it. I'll figure this out. Player A, I'm going to change it to, let's say, player A over here and player B. Now I'm going to hit Control F, or let's say first select this one, then Control F and select all instances of player A and replace it with %. And in order to access the parameters of this function, we need to use widget dot whichever parameter you need. I need PA over here. There goes PA. Similarly for PB, I'm going to do it. So you need the keyword widget to access the parameters. So player B and select all occurrences. And now I'm going to again change it to %widget PB. I'm going to hit hot restart. Okay, so now I'll be providing my name what it should do is it should send these names to the next screen, and they're over here. Now if anyone wins the game, it should increment the counter. Now for the undo function, this will be the last one for this workshop. This will sum up this complete application. So for this, what we just need to do is revert the last action. Okay, so how can we do it? Last index. Okay, so we need to store the last index, like last index on which the user played on, or on which the user tapped. So I'm going to create integer last index. Let's say it's going to be 0 for now. Now whenever the user taps it, set state over here, set state ends over here. This is the if block. Okay, I think that's what we need. It should store the last index as the current index. So whatever index it is on right now, after the user has tapped it, it will store the current index or the most recent index in this last index field. Now we can use this last index field to undo the last operation. So what we will do is we'll go to this undo function and we'll change checklist add the last index to null, and fill counter we need to reduce it by 1 because it was increased by 1 before pressing into. And one more thing, we need to change the boolean value of is x. This needs to be changed back again. Let me see if this works. I press this, I press 0. I don't want to put 0 over here. I want to put 0 in the last grid on the bottom right one. I'm going to press undo. Okay, undo doesn't work right now. Why? Because okay, there's no set state. That's why it doesn't work. Cut it, put set state, paste it again. I put 0. I press undo. It goes away. I can now put 0 over here. I can again press undo, put 0 over here. Now proceed with the usual game. 0, and I put cross over here, but I don't want cross over here. I want to put, let's say, cross over here. I don't know, some dumb player would do it. That's a clear win for the other guy. And now here's how you win the game. So this is the complete functionality of this Tic-Tac-Toe app. Yeah, you can add any element to it. You can change the color scheme, color theme of it. And if there are any questions in the chat, I'll address it, or we can just call it a wrap. For any other questions, if you may have, you can just feel free to ask in the group or email us. I'll be more than happy to address your queries in this regard. The code will be made available on the GitHub repo in a couple of days probably, and you can access it from there. Just practice for a couple of times. I hope you have you now have some vision, some clarity about the Flutter framework and how it is used to build the applications. I mean, we personally tried our level best, so we hope it's worth the effort. So thank you guys. I'm just going to call it off for now.